Hey, good morning, family. So, Reginald Martin here of Kemetic Centered Living, where ancient wisdom meets modern awakening. All right. And I want to talk about just an idea about practical application today, because when you come to my channel, it is not just about information, and it never has been for me because I've always studied. Don't get me wrong. I like researching. I really do. But when it comes to this knowledge, it is about the deeper aspects that it is teaching that allows me to tap into me holistically. And we were taught to look at this ancient knowledge in a way that we worship it, but we really didn't know what it was about, especially the biblical stuff, the personages and stuff like that. We worship them, but what I found is that when I learned how to decode this knowledge esoterically, even before then, I suspected that it was something more than what we were being taught, but when you learn how to decode it esoterically, you find this pure level of knowledge that is unbiased, that is just purely teaching or giving you the keys and clues of how to access you on a powerful level, and it's really teaching you keys about how to operate at a higher level. When I say higher level, I simply mean you operate from a level above the physical, where your mind and your mind and knowledge are actually accessing metaphysical knowledge in order to, how can I say, I can't think of a better word now, in order to manipulate your physical world, okay? So I know, manipulation can have a negative connotation, but I can't think of a better word right now. But operating at a higher knowledge also helps you to integrate yourself, mind, body, and soul. And again, I have to talk about religion because that's where we really a lot of times learn about what we call something spiritual. Now, I separate religion and spirituality because religion is man-made, and man-made ideas that basically rules that you have to follow, dogmatic, blah, blah, blah. And spirituality is just your natural state. You don't have to do anything to be spiritual, although religion will tell you you have to believe a certain way to be spiritual. Bullshit. But anyway, so when we're talking about this knowledge, it's really about how do you apply it? How do you apply it in a way that makes you better? Because the ultimate, what we would call this, or how they would term this ancient knowledge back in the day, in our updated terminology, would be that it's self-help, that it's self-improvement. It's about transformation, So all of these things are about, the ancient knowledge is about helping us to transform our lives and create the reality that we want to create. So when they are talking about or saying things in the esoteric way, first of all, it was never supposed to be written down. So the Greeks ended up writing a lot of this down. So that's how we can trace back to ancient Egypt from their Greek teachers, okay? And I know probably a lot of people say, well, why don't you just, use the Greek knowledge, okay? And the problem with the Greek knowledge is that a lot of we call Gnostics today, they didn't call themselves Gnostics then, but that's what we call them today, the knowers, okay? Gnostic means knowing, or that inner knowing. They ended up making the knowledge negatively focused, okay? And that's where Christianity came in, is that The Gnostics started talking about demiurges, and which is like a lower level down from God and stuff like that, that were malevolent. In other words, they were just some bad beings that created a bad world, okay? And a lot of people take off with that idea, and they're talking about aliens and stuff like that, but family is just symbolic, okay? It's metaphorical. But at any rate, so I go beyond the Greeks and go back to the original teachings of ancient Egypt, because it was just pure and unadulterated, okay, in my sense. And they were teaching how to, positively impact your life, okay? Because this is what the ancients understood, is that when we're talking about this knowledge, it's about dealing with life, and dealing with life in a way that is about your dealing with your fears and overcoming them, okay? So that was one of the major things that it was about. Hey, good morning, Ricky. How you doing? And so it was about overcoming those fears. So they understood back then that our fears and our doubts is what kept us from transforming, okay? It's what kept us from living our lives in a way that from our joyous soul level way, okay? And when you're dealing with things from a soul level perspective, you know that you are aligned with your soul when things feel good, okay? When you are in a good, joyous, happy state, you are aligned, okay? It's that simple. You don't even have to, you don't even have to try to qualify it or anything like that. When you're feeling good, you are in alignment, and you are going in the direction that your soul wants, okay? That you came here for your purpose, okay? Now, sometimes we don't always know what that purpose is, and that's a lot of times what really gets us off kilter, is we as humans, we have to live in a state of feeling fulfilled, okay? At least as we get older, we want to do that, early on, we might chase dollars just for the sake of dollars. But at some point, you realize that what you're doing is not worth it. No matter the amount of money, it's not worth it. And I remember having one of those jobs where I was an insurance adjuster, but that wasn't a job that really set well with me. It's not a bad job. I mean, they pay really well, but just the way that I'm wired, that job just wasn't good for me. And so I was in it for, 10 years. At the time I was married, house payment, car notes, all of that stuff. And I was working for the money. I was living life tied to my obligations as what I felt like a man was, and a family man, a husband, a father. And I was miserable, And I know at one point, I just couldn't take it anymore, man. And I just I packed up my desk and I just walked out, literally. And which, wasn't good for my wife. That was really self-centered on my part to do that. And that's just something, looking back on it, that I know that wasn't the right thing to do at that time. But at that time, I was just in a different mindset. But the bottom line is I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And after I did that, I still ended up going back to that field, but I was unhappy in it. And then finally, when I walked away from it for good, I never again got a job to where it was only about the money. I ended up taking jobs that were paid, I was paid less, but I was more fulfilled doing them. Now, all of them still, they're a job. For me, a job is just it's a job, you know. So I'm at a point in my life right now where I'm unhireable. So, you know, I'd rather live life on my terms. That has its own risk, family, but I live a life on a daily basis where I'm more fulfilled in doing what I'm doing. I'm more happy doing what I'm doing, okay? So I can't even do jobs now. I am an entrepreneur. I am a risk taker. But it goes back again, just back to this knowledge, is each of those transitions for me, there were different challenges that I had to overcome, and in the case of being an entrepreneur, I'm still overcoming, okay? Because I wasn't raised to be an entrepreneur. I was raised to play it safe, okay? I was raised to go get a good job, and you stay on that job for as long as you can. Now, the way society is now, family, whole industries can rise up and be gone in 5 years. So that's just not the world that we live in. I mean, you think about our parents and grandparents who could literally stay on a job for, 40, 50 years. That's not the world we live in now. And now with AI, you're gonna see stuff like that accelerate, So you're gonna always have to be in a state of where you are learning or have the ability to learn and teach yourself, okay? That has been my saving grace in a lot of instances. I have the ability to learn, and I've cultivated that. I've had the ability to learn and teach myself. So anything that I need to change or do, I can learn it. And then once I learn it, because I've struggled with it myself, I can teach it to other people, okay? And this spiritual knowledge is part of that as well. But it's just a different world we live in today. It's a totally different dynamic, okay, as far as our world that we live in. So things are changing really rapidly, all right? The thing is once you start going through these changes, how do you calibrate yourself, family? How do you keep that peace, How do you practice ma'at? And that's what the angels, and they wouldn't call it practicing ma'at, but that's what it was. How do you keep peace, balance, and harmony within yourself? And that's what a lot of this knowledge is teaching, and that's where I take you back to that ancient aspect of this knowledge. If I do a faceless video, usually it's going to be, well, I won't say usually, it's going to be dealing with some aspect intellectually that you need to address, because a lot of people, if you're deconverting or you're a spiritual seeker, my channel helps you on both levels, because I'm dealing with the intellectual aspect, but also the emotional aspect of it as well, and how you deal with that. But a lot of people can deal with, helping you see the part where you need to deconvert, but they leave you hanging psychologically. And that to me was just incomplete and inexcusable, because you can destroy somebody's belief system, and our whole world is built on our belief systems. If you destroy somebody's belief system, then you are essentially destroying their world. Well, how do you help that person? Was your goal to hurt them by just changing their belief system? Because that's what it ends up doing if you can't help them to recalibrate and go in the new direction, okay? Give them a new foundation. And to me, that is metaphysical and spiritual malpractice for people that do that, Hey family, just an addendum on the idea of what I call spiritual and metaphysical malpractice if you destroy someone's beliefs. And this is what I mean by that, because a lot of people I know are simply hell-bent because they're angry at Christianity. And believe me, I'm not judging, because I was there. So this is just through experience, family, that I'm talking with you, okay? Not saying that it hasn't been something that I've done. But just destroying a person's beliefs because you're angry at Christianity, or just because you're, in a sense, just being egotistical because you have a certain amount of knowledge, to me is unfair to the other person, because this knowledge should be about helping people, about helping uplift humanity. And if you're doing things to lower people's vibration and not giving them an alternative to go to, then that to me is malpractice. And this is what I mean by that. You can destroy somebody's belief in Jesus, okay? But how do you help them understand the Christ, okay? The ancient meaning of the Christ. And you can destroy somebody's belief about the resurrection, but how do you help them with the knowledge of what the resurrection meant before Christianity changed it, okay? You can destroy somebody's knowledge about the crucifixion, okay? But what does that mean in the context of ancient terms? Because all of those things are something different in the ancient terminology. It's a totally different perspective that the ancients were teaching these ideas from, and they were universal ideas, or as the ancients would say, they were divine, okay? So how do you help the person bridge from the old beliefs to formulating new core beliefs, okay? And that to me is where my channel is a little bit different, because even though I contrast and I talk about Christianity, it's in the context of helping you to understand how the old beliefs impacted you, but how the new beliefs or the new systems that I'm talking about are different, okay? It's not just about attacking Christianity just for the sake of attacking Christianity, okay? So it's more about helping a person to integrate mind, body, and soul than it is just egotistically just spewing information that ends up being hurtful to other human beings. I'm going to provoke thought, and I'm going to challenge you, okay? But there is a new and more, there's another level that I'm going to help you to go to, okay? With this knowledge and information, all right? And that level is about gaining peace and harmony and balance within, okay? Because that's the ultimate thing. It doesn't matter about anybody else and what anybody else might think. It's about you getting to a place of peace, harmony, and balance within yourself. That's my odd, okay? All right, family. But with what I do is, it's really to help you to integrate, all three levels, mind, body, and soul. The ancient knowledge was built on doing that, okay? The stuff that is the stories in the Bible are built on the ancient Egyptian myths. And we think myths are just nice, entertaining stories, okay? People, I know a lot of Christians they've heard of the story of Isis and Horus, and how Horus supposedly has sex with Isis, or stuff like that. And the story is not the message. It is actually teaching, understanding what Isis and Horus represents. It is actually aspects of us, with the deeper message and deeper knowledge, okay? The virgin birth, the nativity scene, all those stories are based on ancient Egyptian knowledge and just told in another form, okay? It's really important to grasp and understand that this knowledge has the potential when you use it and apply it, it really has the potential of being something transformational in your life, you know. And I know that, again, just through experience, and how just when going through my difficult times, and family, I've had to, because again, as a risk taker, I've taken risk, you know. So I've needed different things to basically help me to stay balanced, okay? To stay at peace in those storms. So the knowledge here is not just about gaining information, and it's really about being a scientist. And I've categorized two types of people. One is a librarian, where a librarian has all the information at their fingertips. They can go get any book and read it at any time. But a librarian doesn't necessarily know how to apply what's in the books. But a scientist is somebody that is going to observe, experiment, and test, okay? They're going to hypothesize. And if something doesn't work right, then they can go back, look at their hypothesis, and see where it went wrong, okay? For example, if you didn't manifest something that you wanted to manifest, then you go back and you figure out, you can go back and trace your steps, your thoughts, your way of being, and all of that through this knowledge, okay? Whereas when we were Christian, we pray about something, but we thought that it was the rituals or the words that were the most important. Sometimes we get our prayers answered, sometimes we don't. But it is through the science that I could see how prayers would get answered and how they didn't. So the idea of the Word of God being a book is actually so, man, I don't even know what to call it. It's so disempowering, because you think that the power to calibrate your life is outside of you, that you have to go to a book. And family, understand, when you're reading a book, it is a left brain activity, meaning it stays in the logical, it stays in the brain, but you have to balance the other hemisphere where you get into the creative, the inner aspect of it, okay? And you have to be able to do that. So where you use your logic to help you with your intuition, okay? It's like logic is an assist, not a crutch, okay? And in the Western world, that's what we've done. We've made logic the crutch, you know? And you know, I just remember when I was atheist, you know, and you know, I you know, was getting involved with a lot of atheist things online, and a lot of times they really just like went to the logical, you know. It was all about logic, you know, the mind, you know. And I get it, because you know, they basically swing from one side to the other, from, you know, believing and having faith to now this has to be logical, you know. But it's really, it comes down to, that wasn't satisfying for me, because it wasn't balanced, okay? For me, it just wasn't balanced. But that's what this knowledge does, is it literally helps you integrate mind, body, and soul. So it's not just about trying to find one nugget of truth, what we see as a fact, as truth. It's about how does it impact you? How does it impact your life, okay? And that's one of the things that I'm making sure of, is when I share knowledge at here at KCL, through my courses and classes, that it is helping you to integrate mind, body, and soul, okay? Not just to be a librarian, but to become a scientist of your life, and have you gain the ability to transform you know, and transform your reality and live the life that you want to live. Okay, that to me is why we are here. You know, everything that we do in between from birth to death is just trying to figure it all out. You know, plain and simple. It's just trying to figure out, how do I stay balanced, harmonious, and at peace, you know, through my life and through the events and things that happen in my life, with the people, the job, romance, finance, whatever it might be, family. And this knowledge is powerful when you can use it in that way, or you understand how to use it in that way. So it's not just about information here at KCL, it's about transformation. All right, family. Well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and continue on my walk, and you guys have an amazing day, and I will talk at y'all later, okay? Reginald Martin, out.